Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Recha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostles of Great Millstone, and in our respected brothers that they're pushing and spreading the gospel of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai to the four corners of the world. Now, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, I just want to do a quick lesson on this article, which is entitled, Trump Tells Zelensky to Forgo Regaining Crimea and Joining NATO Ahead of White House Meeting. Okay? And, if you've been keeping up, or if you've not been keeping up, what has been happening recently is that Trump, in his efforts to end the war in Ukraine, he met with Putin in Alaska without the Zelensky, president of Ukraine, involved. And so he makes a deal. He goes in a meeting with Russia, and after the meeting, he comes up and he says that Zelensky or Ukraine has to let go of the territories, all the territories that Russia has gained. And not only that, but they have to abandon their quest to join NATO. And the world is seeing this demand and how Trump is backing up Russia, and they're saying that America would sell out people, right? If push comes to shove, and that is the narrative that people are seeing right now, right? Because this was Russia's main goal, to stop Zelensky, or to stop Ukraine from joining NATO, right? And that's what even prompted the war in the first place, and how they even wanted certain territories in Ukraine as part of their former empire of the Soviet Union. And so they're seeing Russia make tremendous progress, and you're seeing that they are making this progress, and the world is seeing that Russia's making progress through what? Through war and blood, and no one can do anything to stop them, okay? Especially America. And so there's a narrative here that America is not, it's not reliable, or in a nutshell, unjust, and so on and so forth, which would lead to prophecy. And the prophecy that I'm talking about is in the book of Revelations, the 17th chapter. As you can see in the title, it says the doom of Babylon, right? And Babylon is America. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, Revelation 17:1, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. The many waters represents the nations, right? The leading nation of the world. In the last days, the country that rules the entire world, right, is going to be the one that is termed as Babylon, and that is America. Okay? It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been drunken with the wine of her fornication. Her fornication being what? Being her ideologies, right? It's manner of living, it's language, it's it's money. All these things are fornication. It's way of pretty much it's way of doing things. It's all fornication in the eyes of the Lord. And that is the influence that America has had on the world. So it says the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. They have indulged themselves in the ways of what? In the ways of America. And so that's the drunk that is talking about. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color. This is royalty, right? Because scripture says that Babylon sitteth upon many waters. I don't know if it tells it. Yep. So the waters, Revelation 17:15, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. Right? That's why the whore, or Babylon, is what arrayed in scarlet and purple. So purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abomination and filthiness of fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, and the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, the nation of Israel. Right? The scripture talks about gather unto me the saints that have made a covenant. Let me see. Unto me by blood. Let me just type it in. Um, yep. Psalm chapter 50, verse 5 says, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. All right. So the saints are what are the children of Israel. So I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua HaMashiach. And so, the wicked, the entire nation of Israel, including the righteous among the nation of Israel, who are martyrs of Yahushua, these are all what their lives have been taken, or their blood have been spilled by Babylon, right, through many incarnations, right, ever since Babylon was established, and even in the latter years, when the scripture says that there shall be an insurrection in every city against those who love the Lord. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. All right? And this is the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. This talks about the same setup that was back then in the ancient world. But let me just identify the woman real quick. Well, actually, yeah, sure. So the beast represents what? It also represents nations, right? Well, that's why it says the 7 heads and 7 mountains are 7 mountains. In other words, bodies, right? Ruling bodies. And it says it terms them as kings, right? Kingdoms. And so the woman is America, and the beast is NATO and EU, right? Because these are the nations that are closely associated with America, right? That's why, but nevertheless, it's America that is the leading nation of this coalition. That is why the whore sits upon the beast. And so the whore sitting on the beast is as though, the whore has allowed the beast to sit on her. The beast has allowed the whore to sit on it, and they kind of coexist, right? But the judgment against the whore is this: and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. This is going to happen in the Battle of Armageddon, right? The World War III, where it is a war that involves literally all the nations of the earth. Now, the stage of that battle is going to take place in the Middle East, but the missiles that are shot off, or at least the stage of the battle in terms of men fighting, are going to take place in the Middle East. But you got to understand that there are going to be missiles flying about everywhere, right? And some of these missiles, a lot of these missiles, most of it, are going to come up on Babylon. And that's why Babylon is going to be a desolate wilderness, because it's going to be decimated by thermonuclear fire, right? That's why whenever you go through the scriptures and it talks about the judgment of Babylon, it talks about Babylon being a desolation, Babylon being overthrown as in Sodom and Gomorrah, and so on and so forth. So in the last days, the nations that used to coexist with America, which is NATO and EU, will hate America, right, which is the whore, and will make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. This is prophecy. This is the prophecy that I was referring to. Now, it's unclear how all this is going to unfold, but, through the Spirit, we can make some connections here. This may not be the definitive, event that causes that, betrayal, but nevertheless, it could be one of the many things that will accumulate to the point where, NATO and EU hate America and destroy America. And so the problem right here is that America isn't doing the job of America is hindering NATO from being NATO, right? And the very point of NATO existing was to keep Russia in check, was to keep Russia from spreading, right? And so there it is. So I'm just gonna read the article, and we're gonna, Lord willing, this is edifying. So it says Trump tells Zelensky to forego regaining Crimea and joining NATO, and this is an unjust, unrighteous decision here, right? For the sake of peace, they are gifting a land to the invaders, and they are forbidding the nation that had been invaded, right, to seek any means possible to be stronger, even if it means achieving allies. So they're leaving them out to hang dry. It says India draws closer to China and more. This is also another prophecy. It says President Donald Trump has told Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to give up the idea of Ukraine reclaiming Crimea or joining NATO. President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight, Trump said via Truth Social on Sunday night, stating there was a no getting back Crimea and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Trump, who was now focused on securing a peace deal rather than a ceasefire to end the Russia-Ukraine war, which was triggered when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2002. And if brothers wish, you can look up interviews, right, of Ukrainians, and they pretty much, saying how they don't like how their destiny is in the hands of America, but hey, there's nothing they can do. That is their reality, right? It says, shared the advice ahead of his planned meeting with Zelensky and key European leaders at the White House on Monday. So this is what the nations hate about America, right? America claims to be a leader of the free world. America claims, that it's not a bully, or that it makes plans with its allies, and it takes its allies seriously and its consideration seriously, but then it goes behind its allies' back and make deals before the allies can even weigh in on anything. This is what the nations don't like. Okay, America does things contrary to the beliefs and the wishes of its allies, right? One prime example, aside from this scenario, is their support for the genocide that's going on in Palestine, in Gaza. It says Ukraine's pursuit for NATO membership has long been documented and is a point of contention for Russia. At the annual NATO summit earlier in June, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, said NATO has no business in Ukraine. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, neither Russia. My job is to keep it as it is. NATO has maintained its stance on the matter. Ukraine is not a NATO member. Ukraine is a NATO partner country, which means that it cooperates closely with NATO, but it is not covered by the security guarantee in the alliance's funding treaty. The organization's website reads, specifying that NATO condemns in the strongest possible terms Russia's brutal and unprovoked war of aggression against Ukraine. Meanwhile, Crimea has been under Russian occupation since 2014, when Moscow-backed forces took control of the territory. Russia initially denied direct involvement in the occupation. So this is a situation now, and let me see, it's just giving us a rundown of the history of the war in Ukraine, which is unnecessary in this video right now. So let me see if there's any more. Yep. So I mean, now there's a meeting which is going to involve Trump and the Western European nations, and we just have to wait, right? Do our job as a watchman and proclaim the day of the Lord is at hand. So in closing, I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Ruach Kodash, and Shalom Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, Brakatham to all your Akims and Akovs that are listening in truth and sincerity. May the blessing of blessing be upon our house. Until next time, Shalom.